Hey, and we're back.
Welcome to the Cavalry, everybody.
I'm excited for this one. We've got a great guest today, super funny comedian, good friend of both of ours, Matt Knudsen. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, everybody. A pleasure does not begin to cover it. Happy to be here.
That's how you start a podcast, damn it.
Absolutely. And I was waiting till you begun recording before I waited to tell Andrew what a great set you had on the Late Late Show with James Corden. Congratulations, dude.
Oh yeah, that was last night.
So we're doing this on Zoom. You can't see this, but Andrew just lifted up his Late Late Show coffee mug and took a Jack Benny sip.
Yes. It's we're big on visual gags here on the podcast.
This is not Matt Knudsen's first audio podcast. He's the one
also a Late Late Show mug that's probably laced with COVID-19. I don't know if you saw the news, but they texted me. They were so nice and offered. But James Corden tested positive today.
Oh boy,
it's a matter of time when you're out in public as that much, I'm sure. But
he's probably very suspicious of you right now, Andrew.
No, that's the math doesn't work on that. They tested me before I went in there, and I was clean. So right. I'm testing. I'm gonna try and test every day for the next few days, and but so far so good. So we'll see. But
regardless, it was an outstanding set, and I hope you're getting all the love you deserve. It was just great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was super fun, and it's so great to do it. And then you get that whole, you guys have both done late nights, so but you do the show, and then you get the whole secondary rush of everyone congratulating you and texting you nice things, and you're like, oh, that's so nice. And I got about, I'd say, good 12 hours of just pure celebration until they texted me, hey, you need to get tested. So it's like, all right back in the shitter. Well, it was nice while it lasted. But,
Andrew, I just want to say this. I'm glad that you assume I got some good feedback from my appearance. That was,
of course you
that's
did.
very, very gracious of you.
I like it how modest Andrew was. I was waiting. I was checking to see if he'd post about it because he hadn't posted. And I was like, hey, when are you going to post? And he's like, oh, I'm about to go on. I should probably mention that.
No, right. I was very, I think I would have posted it when did you do, when you knew you were booked on Letterman, or I know, Matt, you did Conan. And then when you knew you were booked, when did you announce it? Because there's part of me, even before COVID, I would worry kind of jinxing myself. But then also with COVID, and I proved that to be right, we very easily could have been canceled. If he had just tested positive one day earlier, it would have been canceled. So
I called every local news outlet the day right after I got off the phone with the booker. My rate just went up. Spread the word.
Hey, is this the Swinomish Casino? Yeah. You can take those buffet tickets and shove it. I want the steak.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Literally gagging with laughter. It's so true. You're like, there's that element where you're like, you don't want to be jinxy. You're like, all right, well, it's going to be Thursday, but I don't want to tell anyone just in case I eat it. I don't want to know what I'm talking about it.
And I don't think this happens anymore, but in the old days, I would watch these shows or documentaries about Carson or whatever, and they'd talk about people getting bumped all the time. Like, oh, we ran out of time, or oh, we went long with this guy, and we'll have you back another time. And I don't hear it
before you were supposed to be on it, right?
What's that?
You had a date, then you got bumped.
Well, no, I didn't have the date. He has, are you available this date? Okay. And then by the time he responded, he had filled it with somebody else. But
I was so scared of getting bumped on Letterman. I watched that Letterman movie and all this stuff, so I was so scared. And then we taped it, and I taped it on a Thursday, and it was the one because they did two shows on Thursday, and then he aired one on Friday. So mine was the one that airs on Friday. So I was like, okay. And I started my set. I was just like, hey, what a great day. This is such a great day. And then the whole between the days, I was like, please don't let there be a terrorist attack. Please don't let there be a terrorist attack.
It's amazing how selfish you get as a comedian because
I know.
I'm all pro, safety with COVID and all this stuff. And then the numbers just start exploding as the days get closer and closer. And I go, it's mild though. It's not that bad. And Johnny's like, yeah, terrorist attack would be really tragic today. This would be.
Right. Wait till tomorrow, please.
Wait till
Do it
tomorrow.
Saturday.
You have to do it.
Well, you also know there had to be at least a dozen guys booked September 10th, 2001.
Oh my
like,
God, yeah.
Tonight's my night. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Because I saw like Seth Meyers is positive and Fallon.
Yeah.
So all those guys probably had comics that got canceled on. And I know Corden next week there was a comic who's canceled now. I mean, I'm sure they'll rebook them and stuff. But
Right.
yeah. So it was very cool because it was. I don't know who. Do you remember who your other fellow guests were when you guys were on?
Urban Meyer. I couldn't think of it last time we talked about it. It was Urban Meyer and Ella
The
Henderson.
now disgraced Urban Meyer. Have you followed that at all?
No, but I've just heard.
Also, that's just kind of fun to throw in at any point for any reason. Oh, you mean the disgraced Urban Meyer?
That'd be a great way. That'd be a great way to introduce him on a talk show now. It'd be like, coming up next, the now disgraced Urban Meyer joins us.
I do remember the other two guests on Conan when I did it. It was Khloe Kardashian and this guy, and this guy named Jeb Corliss, who was like kind of like this action adventure guy. And his last appearance on Conan, he's like, I'm going to try to do this record-breaking stunt. And the way it went down is like he really got hurt. Like he was trying to do this like wingsuit record jump thing. So his appearance on Conan was like him on crutches and like a neck brace. He got really like, he had been in like a medically induced coma for a while.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was not in good shape, but he was a very nice guy. But I'll never forget, like, that was like, so you almost died, huh? Yeah, it was really touch and go. I'm glad you made it. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Knudsen.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Could be worse.
Sometimes. It's the way it
It's
goes
true.
sometimes. But
It's
yeah,
true.
Mine was incredible. I had Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz. And so they do this little bit, this check-in thing at the beginning. And so I had this idea where my wife and I talked about, like, what should we do? I was like, well, what's the funniest thing? The funniest thing is that you're there with these two, like, A-list actresses. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this bit where I'm, like, acting like we're all here kind of together and on equal footing. And, we're very excited. And right before it, but they don't have you run it by James Corden or anything. They're like, just do it and try and be funny, but we don't pitch it or whatever. So when he comes to the green room, right before he comes to mine, he shows Jessica Chastain has our whole team in there, and Penelope Cruz has this like 15 makeup artists and stuff in there. And then he comes to me and I do my little thing. I'm like, oh yeah, we're like, some people are calling us the big three. I don't know. I don't really say that. But. And then I'm like, and my whole team's back here. You can't see them right now, but they're all hiding. They're shy. And he's like, oh, let's take a look. And he picked up on it immediately, and they brought the camera in. It's like completely empty. So it worked out, and it set the stage. It was so I was so nervous for that because I'm like, what if it doesn't work or they get kind of offended or something, or
Right.
And then,
it was an instant classic, Andrew. I watched your pre-show thing and your whole.
Thank you.
It lent itself to your whole like, self-deprecating shrug.
I like it now.
Great.
I like it because it sets you up with the audience. It actually makes it. It's kind of genius because it makes it easier when you go out there. They're like, oh yeah, because they don't know who I am, of course, when he says my name. So it's like it is kind of nice that they do that. So
how much notice did you have that you were going to be doing? Was it like you show up and they're like, hey, we do this thing?
They told me the day before. I mean, if I kind of knew I'd seen that stuff because I watched the show on and off before, but like I had totally forgotten, and I didn't know if they did it. I couldn't remember if they did it with like everybody or just like bigger stars or so. Yeah, I knew that I had a day to like kind of brainstorm about it. I had some bad ideas too that I didn't use.
Yeah. What I was just to say, one of my longtime buddies, Mike Kaplan, he did the Late Late Show, and he anytime he's in LA and he'll do like a late night taping, he'll text me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing Tuesday at 3:00? You want to come and like hang out?" And it's like, you always want to say yes to hanging out at a thing and support and just be in the mix.
And it's cool.
It's cool. I mean, that's Television City. That is literally Television City. But he did this thing where I honestly thought they had like rehearsed some bit that they were gonna like do for the show, because we were hanging out in Mike's like green room, and James came in and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to say hey, and thanks for coming in and for being on the show." He's like, and Capples, as we call him, he picked up something and it said like the Late Late Show on it, and like he handed it to James, and he's just like, "So I got you this gift. It's a T-shirt. Hope you enjoy it." And James was like, "Well, I know that's not a T-shirt." And he's like, and Mike's like, "Oh, really? Why is that?" And he like kind of unfolded, and he's like, "Because it's a bag." And it was a bag. It was like a shopping, like a
like a tote bag or something.
A tote bag, like that you take your groceries home in. It's like, because it's a bag. So every year on the anniversary of Mike Kaplan's James Corden appearance, he'll send an email. He's like, "Happy Bag Day." If that tells you anything about Mike Kaplan, it's that.
Mike. He's done a million of those late night spots, and so
he really has. He's very prolific and super hilarious.
Yeah,
touche.
But yeah, so it was good. It was really fun. It was a really quick trip to LA for me. So like I didn't really get to do too much. It was nostalgic though. My most nostalgic moment was in the Uber ride from the airport, LAX, and the guy was on La Cienega, but he cut over to avoid the traffic to go on to Crescent Heights. Like, oh yeah, that's the move. That was my move. Like, oh, this is amazing. It really it's flooded of emotions and all the drives to LAX that I did over the years, and so it was cool to be back for a little bit anyway. And you're loving LA always, lifer in LA.
Hey, I moved here in 1998. Don't wake me up. I'm living the dream. I always say this, like, I've had up years and I've had down years, and it's just kind of the ride. And like, I'm going to use the words entertainment industry. But if like when I first moved here, if someone like handed you a sheet of paper, they're like, "Hey, here's what you can expect in the next 20 years. I wouldn't have believed it, because when I first moved here, I was doing PA work, and I was grabbing people's lunches and emptying trash cans, and doing open mics, and it's been super duper fun, and I'm very, very grateful. So
can I tell my Matt Knudsen story that I heard fourth hand? This is from Scott, and he wasn't there. He heard, maybe he was there. I don't know.
Let me just say, I love Scott, your brother Scott. He is just the best of the best.
You think? Really?
I do think so. If you're gonna dissuade me, I feel like I might be talking myself into an early Cavalry conversation, but I think your brother Scott's the best. And his wife Eileen.
That brings me to my first thing.
Eggs.
I think Scott is overrated. No. So here's what he told me. I don't remember if he said he was there, if he heard it. So he's at it's a casting audition whatever room, and they're running behind, and they're all pissed off because they got two rooms doing whatever. They can't figure out, people are going to the wrong room, and they're all exasperated. And then you show up for your audition, and they're like, hey, are you here for the, whatever audition or this one? And you were just like, I'm here for the show business opportunity. And everyone in the room just died laughing.
That sounds that sounds like something I would say. Yeah, I just the thing is, even before like I moved to LA, I was just like, well, someday, ellipses, someday, whatever. So you're like, hey, you're coming in for this like IBM commercial. You're like, what? So even to be on the list of people that they're calling in for that, it's been a fun ride. Yeah. But I'm not a really religious person. When I read about other religions, I think about Buddhism, and it feels like the most practical application for your everyday life. So when they say like, you ever hear like, I'm practicing Buddhism, you're practicing one of these 6 things. And my favorite of them is a principle called Joyous Pursuit, where like, if you're not putting everything you have into something, it's just like, what's the point? If you don't really like love it, there's plenty of other things you could do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally
That's
agree.
really good. And then I was just thinking about our podcast, and I was like, are we doing, is this Joyous Pursuit? We've got to do some thinking. I think so. I think we're doing Joyous Pursuit, but
at the very least, if you get a chance to spend an hour a week with a friend of yours, that's really
it. And like, this Zoom thing is incredible. We might have talked about this a million times, but like the Zoom thing is just unbelievable. Like, I was telling Johnny, we wanted to tape it while I was in LA, but the hotel Wi-Fi was so bad, and someone was complaining, and I was telling someone, and they're like, "Oh yeah, these hotels, how can they not have good Wi-Fi these days?" And so I'm like, "Yeah, but also, it's kind of amazing that I can just teleconference video record a podcast with my friend in Madison, Wisconsin anytime I want."
Right.
So it's like you balance it and you go, maybe this motor in isn't the fact that it isn't podcast studio level Wi-Fi isn't the worst thing in the world. But
very true. Yeah, very true. And Johnny, I hope you're getting all the love you deserve for the Flamingo special. Your dry bar Flamingo special. Having done a dry bar special myself, you don't really know what set they build for you. So to show up and have your special be that backdrop and to instantly decide it's called the Flamingo special is so hilarious and so great. In addition to the act being outstanding.
I did my taping with Moody McCarthy. We both showed up and looked at each other, and we were like, this is not, because it was way worse than what it actually ended up being. They took down about 75% of the pink balloons and flamingos before the tape. And before we did it, they were like, they come up to, because we were like, all right, we got to tell them this is ridiculous. Just do the red curtain. She comes up and she's like, hey guys, oh my God, the crew's really excited this week. They've been working so hard on this. And we both just didn't say anything.
Right.
So then he was like, hey, I got to go back to the hotel and change. You tell them to change the set. Okay, let's do this. And I was like,
you be the guy to crush people's dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know when that happened, but the word got out, like, to warn, because someone warned me. They were like, hey, before you go, send them an email saying, just say, hey, I know you guys like to do creative sets, but my style of comedy might not be great with anything big or loud, so subtle would be. So someone got the word out to me. But the best one is, do you know Kermit Apio? Did you know his story about that?
I don't know if I do.
Well, he's a great comic. He lives in Seattle, and I've been doing it for a long time. But he does a lot of work for PETA and animal societies,
Right.
And so he shows up, and his backdrop is all like these dead moose heads and like elks, stuffed elks, and all this stuff. And he's like, guys, I can't. And so he shot it, but he's like, I really can't use it. And so to their credit, they reshot it for it. They said, okay, you'll come down another time, we'll reshoot it.
Nice.
And they reshot it, but then you know how Dry Bar will pay you out once you pay off the special.
Yeah.
They made them pay off both specials
to
get paid.
Right.
So it wasn't any
No.
gesture of goodwill. They were just like, if
Right.
you want, you can tape it again. But it's
Right.
yeah,
Did you see Mark Poulos' special?
No,
I don't think so.
He's a great comic, but I'm just because whenever those clips would pop up, I'd look at him. His backdrop is just a bunch of school chairs stapled to the wall, like along the whole wall. I was like, I'm curious what the thinking behind that was.
Very abstract.
Yeah.
we don't need no. I just got lucky. I showed up there and I didn't have any notes and I didn't have anything, but my backdrop happened to be like the vision board of my future, which was like a fishing cabin. So it's like a porch and like a lantern and like a fly rod and not that I've ever done any of those things, but I think in the back of your mind you're like, when I'm 65 and I get out of this whole racket, I'm really. So it was
that
very
is funny that we all have this assumption that we'll like stuff one day, but there's no evidence to suggest. I've hated fishing my whole life, but then sometimes I see like fly fishermen. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be doing that for sure. That would be great. I've never enjoyed it up until this point, but
yeah, maybe they just like the logic is like, well, when I have nothing else going on.
Right.
I might get into painting. I could paint. I'm a painter. Who knows?
And maybe Mark, when he saw his, he was like, you know what? When I'm done, I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah, actually, Mark's was probably the most accurate representation of our futures. It's just a lot of sitting. A nice sit. Couldn't you just go for a good old sit?
When I retire from comedy, I'm gonna substitute teach until I die. Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
That's the best part about comedy is like you don't want to retire. I mean, there's some gigs you want to quit. There's some gigs you probably don't want to have to do anymore. But like, that's like the I don't know. That's the one thing when I think about the future, I'm like, it's kind of great. You're just going to want to keep doing it forever until people are actually annoyed that, oh, this old guy is going to.
Slater's still in the game.
Still going out there, running that same horse shit.
I had heard, and I truly believe people only retire from jobs they don't like.
Yeah. Yeah,
the rest of it, you're like, well, it's fine. It's like the in poker, the old adage, a chip in a chair. God, I'm still in the mix. I still got that small blind. I'm still, and why would you quit the thing you wanted to spend your whole life doing?
Yeah, and then like I feel like I would quit, and then I would just like be online, like social media or online, just like looking at other comics and I'm better than that guy. Why am I? I shouldn't have quit.
Yeah.
Well, let me add to that. I was a big fan of his, but Richard Jenny, I opened for him like 2 weeks before all the unpleasantness. And he would talk about doing comedy on the road. And he's like, he's on TV. He's like watching TV in his hotel room. He's just like, not funny. He opened for me. I'm better than him. And like, there was this tirade of, one of my favorite quotes of all time is Teddy Roosevelt. He says, comparison is the thief of joy. There's always people you're like, oh, and then there's people looking up at you like, how could I? And it's just, it's not fair.
It's so true, and it never ends, because it's funny. You're like, I've heard that Richard Jenny was depressed about his level of success, and you think most 99,000 out of 100,000, comedians would kill for Richard Jenny's success.
He was so great and so funny.
Yeah.
I'm probably, one of the top comics of all time. And I, just as the opener, I looked up to him so much because he was one of those guys he was on HBO before I even did comedy. So I would watch his set every single night. And he had this catalog of material where it was just a different set. And he was just had an hour of like whatever occurred to him that you knew it was like happening in this filing cabinet of like, hey, that guy's wearing a cowboy hat. That's funny because I have 20 minutes on Texas. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was never the same show, and it was always great.
Yeah, that was quite a tragedy. Anyway, that's all the time we have. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everyone. Don't kill yourself, everybody. Don't do it. They say suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Good night, everyone.
Okay, well, we should get into it.
Yeah,
so,
that was pre-show banter.
That was pre-show banter.
Man.
We like to end it on a as dark a note as we can.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're gonna have to follow yourself. If you want to go first, do you have anything, Matt, that you need backup on Cavalry?
Well, you know what I was thinking was, and I don't know if this has been covered on the show, but how important is the car that you drive? Ooh. Do you want to have like this prestige like Mercedes, or do you want to have like something practical and utilitarian for your family that comes with an extra 25 grand in savings that you could use in an emergency? So my take is less is more. I don't think you should buy something big and expensive unless you can buy 100 big and expensive. Yeah, but that's just me.
Oh, perfect. You're talking to the right couple of guys. For sure. Because Johnny's thing, tell him your thing about the minivan.
I don't remember what my thing with the minivan is.
Well, I'll tell you Johnny's thing about the minivan. No, it's like everyone makes fun of the minivan, and then you get one, and you're like, this is the best car.
That was one of my topics. Is minivans are way better than the SUVs. They're way better. They're more functional. There's just that stigma, but if you can ignore that, who cares? They're great.
And now we're both. I don't know what you got there in the driveway, but we're both Prius guys now.
I'm a new Prius guy.
Prius is a great car. Great car. You know, not just the gas mileage, just it runs. Just runs. Never see a Prius on the side of the road.
Every time I'm a Prius guy too. I got the Prius C. It's the smallest one that they made. Before I bought the Prius C, I used to have a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck, and I loved it, and I drove it all the time, and I had the camper shell, and I would like go camping in it, and it was wonderful. But before I bought the Prius C, I rented one for a day, and I'll never forget it. I had like a couple of like auditions I had to drive to and like a couple of shows that night, and I parked it in places where I never thought I would ever fit. It filled, I mean, I went like through one bar of gas for 24 hours, and I was just like, okay, this is the move.
That is so funny. Once you get a Prius, only Prius owners use the my mom calls them dots. But there's a whole new gas terminology because it's not the needle; it's just like little dots.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
I could not back you up more because like every car that I've had that has just turned into a slow road piece of shit, I have had to get rid of because my wife, you know, we would share the cars. We have the road car and then the van. And I'm home with the kids during the week. So unless I'm on the road, I'm driving the van and she's driving my piece of shit to her job, which she hates. And my first car was, first like big road car was a Chevy Cavalier. And it's so smashed up the driver's seat. Like there was no, like, you can recline. There was no, like, you couldn't lock it. It would just go all the way back. It was like a dead floppy. I had to keep a box in the back seat to keep the seat.
Oh, that's great.
Just falling back. I was like, why? It still runs. Why would we get a new car? That's a waste of money. I have a car. Are you kidding me?
All right. We have two settings for this seat. It's attend hut and good night.
Right.
Those are your options.
Right. Exactly.
It would just be a hilarious way to get into an accident. It's just to be driving along and your box gives way and just down.
The guy in front of me just disappeared.
Whoa! Abducted.
Oh my God. Oh, you know what's hilarious? Before I was like, the car I had before that was like a hand-me-down for my younger brothers, and they didn't tell me this. It was a Honda or a Accord, like a really old one with a sunroof.
Yeah.
And I'm driving it, and then I stopped. Like there was some sort of leak. There was some sort of seal that was broken, and so when it would rain, it would just fill up with water between the roof and the bottom, and then when you stop, it would all just rush onto your shoulder. Hot sun water. Oh my God, it scared the hell out of me. It was like a sunny day. All of a sudden I get drenched inside my car. I was like, what is going on?
Oh my God, that's so fun. I had the same. So I had my first car was a 1988 Acura Legend, a little 2-door with a sunroof. It was kind of a cool car, you know, but it was like way busted down. It lots of things wrong with it, and it's same thing. There was a seal problem in the sunroof, but then it had the sunroof which could open and close the glass, but then it also had the
sliding thing,
like the little piece of leather or whatever thing, and so I would keep that closed, you know, in the winter. But then sometimes, I don't know if either I would forget, or someone in the car would forget, and they'd open it and water would just come down. It's like I was playing a practical joke on the person, but I was like, I just really forgot. There's water up there.
So what you're saying is you were a pioneer of the ALS challenge.
Right.
It was before it was a thing. You're like, yeah, there's no disease involved, but check this out.
We're raising money to get me a new car by splashing you with this crappy car.
I always think about it too, like whenever you're like on the skids and you're broke, or you know, whatever, like the true Hollywood story of your life is like, and then he was broke, they'll always like show a picture of the car that you bought at some point. It was a Mercedes ELS limo. You're like, oh man, I could have done without that.
I'm and that's it's good. I mean, you're in LA and you're like in the entertainment industry.
Thank you. And you guys can't see this, but he did not air quote entertainment industry, which is the biggest compliment I've ever got in my entire life. So
you are entrenched in the dirty show business. But that there in LA is like the capital of show cars, right? Like the whole thing is like,
you're right,
flash the car, be, you know, so it's good for you for sticking to your guns.
Yeah, we both have Mrs. Knutsen and I have Prius cars that have been paid off for years, and we'll drive them until the wheels fall off.
Yeah,
well, that's the way to do it.
I was wondering about that because like now, if you're an environmentalist, right? Like, and I would like to think of myself as one, but I have a Prius, and now the electric cars are coming out, you know, more and more common, not just Teslas, but everybody's kind of making an electric car. And I was like, well, what is actually better for the environment? Is it better for me to just keep this Prius and not buy a brand new, you know, something that's going to be made in a factory and require is that better, or that it's electric, or is it better for me to keep the Prius, or should everyone just switch as fast as they can afford it to an electric car? That's a question for someone who's probably not on this program.
A philosophy major for that one.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked that.
Well,
Matt, answer it. Answer the goddamn question.
I will say this. I don't want to be the victim of lifestyle inflation, where you're just like, oh, hey, I've got a couple bucks. Now's the time to get that bigger house. Now's the time to get that nicer suit, that car, insert thing that you think money and success is.
Right.
Because it's so, especially in the entertainment industry, you don't know. Every year I've had has been not the same year. So
right, a lot of variance. It's I say that to Heidi too, because sometimes we have friends, you know, who we have friends, okay, and don't get invited to a lot of things, but we got friends. So we go. They both have like great jobs, you know, like one will be like a engineer and one will be like a pilot or something, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they're always talking about money and how things are tight or they can't afford to go to this. And me and Heidi look at each other and like, we do all this stuff all the time. I don't know how are we doing it? I don't know what it is or what we're not spending the money on, but like somehow I don't get it sometimes. But I think it's what you said. People always just spend to the level of their income, no matter what. They're like, oh, we make this much. Let's spend. You can find a way to buy something that's the most expensive version of whatever it is, you know.
Yep.
And then you get so accustomed to that you like
Right,
knock
you can't go
yourself
back.
up, and you can't go back.
Yeah.
Wine
Well,
is like that. We like wine. You can never go back down. The $12 bottle, you're doing that. All of a sudden, you start screwing around with those $16, $17 bottles at Whole Foods, and then you're like, oh, I can tell the difference. But then the $12 bottles are shit now, and
right.
oh, that's a slippery slope because there's no end to that. I mean, then they're like $60, $70 bottle. I mean, it gets up there.
Yeah. I think about this all the time. And, when you look at like a dam that has been filled with water, for many years, you only notice the ring of where the water used to be after it goes down. If it's always going up, you never really notice, but it's just like, oh, once it starts to go down, oh, we're in a drought. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a drought. I just want to sleep great every night.
That's like when you're doing comedy and you get into it, like you get more and more gigs and your income goes up, but then you get to a point, I mean, unless you're lucky and you just blow up, like
right.
You usually get better, more and more, but then like you said, like then you start fluctuating, like up, good year, bad year. And that first year where you're like, I'm making less than last year is a tough pill to swallow.
It's true. And you're like, boy, how many drinks did I buy my friends because I wanted them to know things are going pretty good? I don't want to not take care of my people, but my wife calls it big pants. She's like, you don't need to wear your big pants. It's fine. Totally. And she's right. You're like,
what an emasculating, demoralizing thing to be at a bar about to, hey, I'm gonna get everybody around, and your wife's just like, hey, you don't have to put on the big pants tonight, Mac, and you just put your wallet back in your pocket. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I have a separate debit card. It's for the big pants. Hey, everybody.
It's a giant card. You made him make a novelty card. That's your giant
what time's happy hour over? 7 p.m. 6:56. Drinks are on me. Get out there.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever bought a round? I mean, obviously we've all bought like a drink for a friend or whatever. But have you ever like bought a round for like more than 5 people? I'm trying to think of a situation where like not a whole bar. I don't think most people haven't done that, but like I don't think I've ever done like that huge thing where like, yeah, this first round's on me, and then there's like 12 people that you buy a drink for. I don't know if I've ever done that.
I only do that before I pull that card out. I'll calculate the time and make sure there's enough time for each person I'm buying around to do the same thing, so it just evens out.
So if there's 12 of them, you're gonna get really shit-faced.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at the Bridgetown Comedy Festival in Portland, Oregon, and I was probably out to lunch with maybe like 10 to 12 comics and stuff, and we had whatever the brioche and the drinks and all of this stuff was, and it was kind of the up and coming next generation of comics, and so they dropped the check, and I saw everyone like kind of reaching for their thing, and I was just like, guys,
big pants.
It's a pleasure to be your friend. Enjoy this. When the time is right, do it. And I don't think I made any official announcement like that, but just like, guys, I got it. Don't worry about it.
Knutson wore
big
pants.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
I'm down for saving. I was just gonna say I'm down for saving to the future and all that other stuff, but there's also you got to live your life, and
I'm with you. So you got the 2 Priuses. You got are they matching Priuses? You and the missus? No, because what's funny about that is my when the Prius kind of first came out, my grandparents got one, my aunt and uncle got one, and my mom, they all kind of got like one. and they were all the
Uh-huh.
exact same, that first model.
Uh-huh.
And they would go to Wendy's every week. They would eat at Wendy's once a week. That was like their family lunch. And sometimes I would get to go or whatever. But they would be the first ones there at 11 a.m. when they opened. And then they would park they were only ones in the parking lot, and there'd just be these 3 Priuses parked all next to each other. It looked like a Toyota dealership, and then they would just go to Wendy's, and then eventually the place would fill up. But it was just funny to see that.
As we call it, the good life.
Yes.
Priuses, Wendy's, the works.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
well, that leads. Okay, can I go into that leads me smoothly into my topic. So
please.
Okay. So all right. So Matt, what year is your Prius C?
It's a 2014, and for whatever reason, they stopped making it.
I got the Prius V.
And they stopped making that too.
Yeah, they stopped making that one because they have some other one. But so anyway, my topic is cars. I think they're coming out with features out of convenience that are sacrificing security. Like I don't need the whole my keys are in my pocket, so I'm going to grab the handle and it knows, oh, the keys are closed, so it unlocks it right before you pull on it. So you really can't every time, because I'll go to the grocery store and all my previous cars have had terrible lock systems, so I have to double check. So I always check to make sure that my door is locked when I go into the grocery store, and it unlocks when I check it. It's like, okay, let me make sure it's locked, and it unlocks it. It's like, are you kidding me? And I always play this scenario in my head. I'm like, what if someone is chasing me and I want to run and get in my car and lock the doors? Well, it's just going to open for them when they try to get in because my keys are closed. So I think they're going overboard.
I think that's an interesting take, and also like you're sacrificing convenience for safety.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to think of other features now, like but most of them, there are some of the, like, I don't know, the backup camera I think does more good than harm, but I do think sometimes people rely on the backup camera too much to their detriment. But I'm trying to think of other things.
Oh, hang on. I'll be right back. My wife is locked out. I'll be right back.
Wait, were her keys not close enough?
Was she not close enough? Is she not being chased by a...
This is hilarious. This just completely invalidates Johnny's entire line of argument. Is that he was doing a topic about how it's too annoying that how easy it is to get into things, and now his wife is locked out.
Yeah, I do think about that too. Like, they're like, oh, it's a smart home thing. And you're like, and all you need to do, you don't even need a key anymore. And you're like, well, all right, well, what happens when some guy in Kazakhstan has the key code to your house, and suddenly it's no longer breaking and entering? It's just like, oh, I had the key and I walked through the open door, and it's...
I know. So I was reading, because I had a couple things recently that made me nervous, like someone on a PlayStation account that I haven't used in years. Someone was like, oh, you've changed. I got emails and you've changed to a 2-factor authentication, and you can buy stuff on there. So I was like, oh no, someone's hacked in. And then so that was a big headache to try and figure out how I don't even have this account anymore. How do I, whatever. And then there was another one where someone in Kazakhstan or something had my Netflix or something. I was like, okay, maybe my passwords are floating around out there. So I looked into these, like, in the New York Times, they were talking about these password managers where you have one master password, and then it creates password, like randomized, really secure passwords for all your other accounts. And I was like, I know they're smarter than me, and I know it's probably the right thing to do. But to me, it's like, now all they got to do is get one. One right. And that one, I'm going to have to say, like, Andrew 1, 2, 3, because I'm going to forget. If I forget that one, then I'm really screwed because I'm locked out of everything. So I'm sure I'm not smart. But that's like, I think technology, sometimes it goes the other way. And like, because if they get into one thing now, they can kind of get into everything with those connected Alexas and all that stuff.
Agreed.
I'm one of the like I'm always one of the last people to get on like the Apple Pay and the Apple
Yeah.
because I'm just like I'll let everyone else do it and then I'll wait for the news story. Nobody's shit is safe, and I'll be like, I didn't think it would be.
Right.
I was doing the Robin Hood thing before their big blow up with all the GameStop. I was using Robin Hood to like trade stocks or whatever. And then once I read about how that worked, I because afterward, and they were basically insolvent during a period of time, I got my money out of there as fast as I could because I was like, they don't actually have the money. You know, it's like
Right.
it's just
Right.
a big kind of card game, and maybe they all financial institutions do that. I don't know, but that one seemed especially like I was like, I don't. It's like religion to me, the finance stuff. You want it to be very old. Brand new religions are a tough pill to swallow. You know?
Right.
You're like, well, where'd you come up with that? You know, but as long as it's like a really old, there's some ancientness to it, and there's some reverent. You feel like, oh no, it's stood the test of time.
Yeah.
But same. So I think the same way, like financial institutions. I want like a crusty old building somewhere that
I want John Houseman involved
yeah,
in my
an old guy with a pocket square. He's looking after my money. That's what I want.
The thing I think about a lot is like people think like, oh, I have $10,000 or insert whatever number you think you have. It's not like it's sitting in a pile somewhere. You know, I'll never forget that. Like one of the most striking images of the pandemic was like when it really started to go down. It was a line around the corner at the ATM. Like, I gotta get, it's a wonderful life bank run.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, well, guess what? You know how you thought you had $18,000? You can only get $200 today. Right. You're like, that doesn't feel like a fair shake.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta buy
big mattress.
Gold.
Big mattress. well, your money's not here. It's in Bill's house and Ted's house and 100 others. Of course, we watch that over Christmas. That's like that's an institution here at the house.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
One of my favorite jokes of Friends, and I'm not like a Friends stan, but like Phoebe was having like a terrible Christmas and they're like, you should watch it. It's a Wonderful Life. And like, she like watched it and like Monica's like, well, did you watch it? She's like, it was so depressing. I couldn't even watch the last 10 minutes.
That
whoever wrote that it's great.
That's a great joke. We had a horrible Christmas one year. Our dog died on Christmas morning.
Oh my goodness.
Horrible. And we but every year we see a movie on Christmas, and it's a tradition, and the dog had died early in the morning. There's nothing else to do, so we're like, well, I guess we'll go see this movie. And we went and we saw, I don't know if you remember it, The Pursuit of Happiness with
Will Smith.
And he plays this, and it's a very inspiring movie about a poor father who works his way up and survives poverty in San Francisco. But anyway, talk about making it the last 10 minutes, the last 30 seconds. That whole movie is just one gut punch of sadness after another. He's sleeping in a homeless shelter. He can't look his son in the eyes because he can't provide for his child. And then finally, he gets one good thing at the end. They're like, all right, that's it. My dad was so mad at all of us. He's like, why did you take me to this horrible movie on the day our dog died? So, yeah.
Well, everyone has their
traditions,
family traditions.
It's the tradition, you got to keep it going. I can do a quick one here. This is very specific, but it's kind of car related, so we'll keep it in the car world. And
I thought you were going to be like, don't you hate it when you're doing the late show with
and then the host comes down with COVID.
Comes test positive.
Like really puts a damper on your compliments.
Right.
No, it's funny because those texts all changed. It was like, hey, great job. Hey, good job. And then everyone's sending me the link. Holy shit, did you see this? You should go get tested. It's like, yes, I'm aware.
Well,
they sounded the alarm for me.
No spoilers, but my favorite bit from your set was like, And this is also kind of like what we were talking about. There should be like a health app that's connected to your financial future. Like, oh boy, you've saved a lot. You should eat more Brussels sprouts. Or like, oh, maybe you should start smoking. It's just so great. My wife and I watched it together, and it was outstanding.
Oh, thank you, pal. That's very nice of you.
Of course.
So anyway, here it is. So one of the things you're talking about, Johnny, is like with security with cars. So like car alarms, right? Car alarms, I think, got to the point where they became useless because if you hear a car alarm, nobody's looking over their shoulder. Nobody cares. It's become background noise, or we're just like, oh, some idiot left their alarm on, or
someone bumped into a car.
Yeah,
right. It's a nuisance. It's a total nuisance.
So I haven't heard people say this, but I think it's risen to this level. The airport wrong door open, incredibly loud beeping alarm is also not a head turner to anyone. Now, this is the airport. There's a TSA, it's a very secure location. No one's ever, you hear that, it goes on for 20 minutes every time. It's ear-piercingly loud, and no one's moving. No one's heading towards it. No one's heading from it. There's no action. Nobody's looking around for anyone that... So it's like, what is it for? Why does it have to be so loud if it doesn't ever cause any concern? I guess that's what I need backup on.
It's become the car alarm. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
At this point, the only like alarm I would have is if like I looked over and someone was trying to steal a car as the alarm was going off. So I'm like, I'm alarmed. This is the first time I've ever seen it since like 1994.
Right.
The rest of it is just a complete nuisance. And I mean, let's just say it. The car alarm has gone the way of the club. It's just
the club.
The club. It's over. It's over.
Well, the sad thing is like even if you did see someone breaking into a car and you looked at them, all they would have to do is be like, oh shit, where's my keys? And you'd be like, oh, that idiot.
That guy.
He can't find his keys to turn it off, whatever.
Yeah. The true story. My wife and I were actually like, we just happened to be like looking out the window at our place, and there was a guy who like pulled up, and he got out of the car, and he got out of his car, and he opened up his trunk, and he got out 2 sets of license plates, and he slammed the trunk, and they were magnetized on the back, and he put them on the back and the front. Completely changed the identity of his car, like in front of us. And our only reaction was like, let's get out of the window. He might see us. It wasn't like, hey, let's call the authorities. And it was just like, no, this guy, we are literally in our house. We know he'll know where we live and where it's coming from.
Yeah. You made the right call.
I agree.
You're not Batman.
And who gets magnetized license plates and like, we're looking for a Ford Tempo with, Ford plates. Like nobody changes their plates unless they are shady.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I love that though. Like you were looking out the window and you're like, this could be a chance to save or report something to the police, or like, no, I think I'm just gonna put on my small pants, close the shades.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's the right move,
It felt like a right. No regrets. Regrets.
Not at all. Oh man, this was so fun. So Matt, thank you. First of all, do you have
my pleasure?
Do you have anything you'd like to promote, or you want people to check out, or see online, or see in person? What's going on?
Well, the one thing I'm hoping catches fire, I'm running the LA Marathon as a fundraiser for St. Jude on March 20th of 2022. It'll be my 10th consecutive LA Marathon, and I am retiring. That's a wrap for me. So I set a rather ambitious fundraising goal of $10,000, which would represent $1,000 for every year that I ran. And maybe I won't make it, but why not shoot for the moon? The donation link is on Twitter, Instagram, my YouTube, and if you just search my name, Matt Knudsen, MattKnudsen, on any of the search boxes, I should come up. And it's been a tough couple of years, but 26%. Thank you to the generosity of Johnny Beaner and family.
When it comes to raising money, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
It's a running. So I'm just kind of directing my efforts and my energy towards that. I have a few albums. I have a special. It's mattknudsen.com. But if you're going to look me up in any way, please do it to support the kids and families at St. Jude.
What a guy. And definitely do that. Good. And then Johnny, now you ran your first marathon.
That's right.
Are you going to run 10? Do you think you'll make 10 in a row?
I don't think so. I am signed up for the Chicago Marathon in October. We'll see.
Awesome.
There, but I don't know if I can commit to a annual.
What's your number one marathon tip, Matt? As such a seasoned veteran, what is your number one advice for people who think about doing it?
To be honest, I've never been one of those like elite athletes that's just like, I gotta break 4 hours. I've just kind of like, I've taken in the experience for what it is. And I just like jog. And when I'm tired, I walk, and like, I'll get like an orange slice and then drink. And, there's always, that's the thing about LA. At the pub.
I get a line scooter and
I'll take a lift. I'll get a lift for 10 to 11 miles of it.
Anything for the St. Jude kids.
It's surcharging right now. I think I'll wait. Everybody wants this Uber.
Well, just do it and have a good time. And I've never been an elite athlete. And even the elite athletes, like having done it for so long, when they realize it's not their day and they're not going to win, they're just like, no, I'm just gonna. So like somewhere around like 8 or 9 miles or 10 miles, like you'll run past all these Kenyans who are just like sitting on the curb, like drinking water. They're like, hey, because that's their job. They're going to do one next weekend. So why burn it out? So yeah, so just enjoy it and enjoy the community and enjoy the energy that you're getting from people that you've never met and probably never will meet, because they're doing it from
cool
a big heart.
There is a bond, like this unspoken bond. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I feel left out.
Andrew, you gonna?
No.
Have we inspired you?
No. I got enough commitments.
And also, too, Andrew, it's not for everybody. And I'm not even like ironically enough, I'm not an athlete in that way. I just, as I was like creeping up on 40, I was just like, you know what I've never done? I've never run a marathon. And from that, I just did one. I was just like, actually, that was pretty cool. So I just kept
I know. I'll never say never. So maybe tomorrow I'll.
Well, you do have to train, Andrew. I mean,
what?
Well, whatever. And you have to sign up. But,
no, I just walk and eat an orange. I can do that. Hey, I'm like dismissing you. No. It's amazing. I can't do it. Anyway, thank you, Matt, and thanks everybody for listening. Remember, leave a review with what you need backup on in your life, and we will talk about it.
Wait, Andrew, do you have anything you got to plug? I got to plug my Milwaukee shows.
No, you go. You plug your Milwaukee shows.
Laughing Tap, Milwaukee, January 14th and 15th. I'm hoping to try to sell out, and then most likely I'll be at Comedy on State, January 20th through 22nd. It's not locked in, but I'm hoping to.
Ooh, that'll be amazing.
Incredible club, and they're in. You're an incredible comedian, so they're lucky to have you. It's true.
That's what I tell them.
Match made in heaven. All right, thank you everybody for listening to
The Cavalry.
The Cavalry.
Yay.